Welcome back to another phenomenal drums radio live talk. And I have I should have put his name up, but I didn't put his name up in the writing, and I'm going to do that whilst we were talking because it's something I should have done. But the gentleman's name is Carlos Mena. He's an amazing producer, event organizer, orator of the house scene, someone that's laid the foundation for so many to deliver what they are or who they are today. And we have the pleasure I have the pleasure of speaking with this gentleman today, myself here. Welcome to the show.
What's up, brother? Mr. Silk, how are you?
I'm very well, sir. It's always a pleasure to speak with you and see you. It's a delight. You bring a delight to my face every time.
Right on. Thank you.
So it's really nice. Right, sir. So let's begin. For those who don't know, how did it all begin for you, Mena? When did you first start in music? When did it attack the Carlos Mena mental space?
Well, I grew up here in Brooklyn and at house parties when I was like 7, 8, 9, 10. My uncles would, battle each other to take over the console to play records. And I would always sit next to whoever was playing records and learn, what this record was, what that record was. So I was into music very early on. A lot of my family members are musicians. And then when I started going to middle school and then high school, that was like the evolution or the genesis of hip hop at the time. And so, I was doing the same thing all the other kids were doing, trying to rap and beatbox and all that stuff. I started DJing in 1982, and I played in an after hours club where it was playing all kinds of music. So that's kind of where I got started. I started DJing at home on my mom's console. I think I've told this story a couple times, but people don't believe it. But I think I wasn't the only one that was doing this. We had one of those big pieces of furniture that had a record player inside.
Yeah.
And I would take the knob and I would turn it in between the FM and the phono, so I could still hear the radio and I could hear the record at the same
Wow.
time. So like, be DJ Red Alert or whoever, Chuck Chill Out, whoever was playing on New York radio, I would try to, scratch and play along to what they were doing and sometimes try to mix, the record by, rocking it with my finger. I would put the sleeve underneath so I messed up so many of my records. A lot of them are still here. I have some like early 80s hip hop records that are just trashed because that's how I was scratching on them. That's how it started. And I went into the studio in the 86. I think I recorded my first song. I was rapping. And then I moved to California in 89, joined the underground hip hop group that kind of blew up. And, we opened for a lot of big acts and then I got to tour off of that. Then I got into doing more spoken word stuff, toured around the world doing that. And then I met Oshunlade when I was putting a project together because I was producing music. I think I started like making songs on my own like in 80. It might have been 88, something like that. Anyway, I was putting a project together and I was looking for people that were involved in the Orisha tradition that were in the music area. And so I met a whole bunch of different artists and then I heard Oshunlade doing an interview. I was like, oh, I want to meet this cat. So I wrote him, flew him out to California, stayed at my crib. We just connected, worked on music, did a couple of shows. And then he told me to come down to Winter Music Conference. And I was like, what's going on there? He said, house music. And I was like, I'm good, no thanks. And he's like, I was envisioning. He's like, nah, man, it's not like that. It's it's more of the stuff I play, blah, blah, blah. So I came down there and I was blown away by all the music I heard and what people were playing. Because I played house back in the 80s, early 80s, but I wasn't like a house DJ. I was playing the popular tunes, whatever Madonna's hit was out or Break for Love, the popular things. So it just flipped my whole thing, and I started producing house music right there for Shunlade. And he and I started Ocha Records, and then I took it over, and just it's been going ever since. I've been stuck in the house world.
You found your groove, as they might say.
I guess.
Tell us a little about when you were on tour with the hip hop group. What was it? What was the name of the hip hop group?
10 bass T.
10 Base T. Tell us a little bit about being on tour with the guys and what the tour life was like.
Well, I toured more locally with them. Then as a solo artist, I did an album called Hip Hop Meditations, and that's where I really got to tour around the world. But touring back then as an underground hip hop group was, staying on people's couches,
Hmm.
riding in little minivans, and just all what you would expect from underground tour life. Just trying to get enough money to on the show to cover the next gig. And
Hmm.
back then, you made CDs and cassettes to make
Yeah.
extra bread. Now
Hmm.
that doesn't happen anymore. People are like, what's your
What's your
SoundCloud?
SoundCloud?
No one's
Yeah.
asking you for a CD. I mean, I do get people occasionally ask me, "Do you have any CDs?" And I'm like, "Nah."
It got to be a t-shirt game now, really, isn't it? Try and get the t-shirts involved or something
Exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
It's not ad. But okay, so tell us. So you've gone in there. You've got what was the inspiration? What triggered the? I mean, I know you went to a community conference, and then you saw like when did the trigger of the Ocho Records come about? I'm trying to just put it point.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
it
When I was
just
down there, I saw the music that people were playing, and I heard Oshun Lade's music and his label, and he and I were just sitting around. I think we were we were at Gingy's house, Gingy Brown.
mm,
We were at his place in Miami, just hanging out. And I said, you should start another label that's not house, because he's an R&B producer,
mm,
originally.
mm.
And I said, you should start another label and just not have it not be house. And he looked at me and said, why don't you do it? So I said, all right. So then we started Ocha Records. But then, just because of the connections and everything that I had been working on, and people I had been meeting, the first few releases turned out to be house.
Hmm.
And so we just kept, going along those lines. I mean, we're open to putting out other music. It's just we haven't had the opportunity to find the things that we would want to put out that are not
Mm.
house. But we're
Yeah,
always looking for different music.
you heard it here first. If you want to get your music on, you've got something different. You think it stands out. Get up the Ocho Records. You might be that special something. You might be that special person. But talking about special people, so Mr. Osalande was an influence in your lifestyle and changed from hip hop to house, as you might say. When you started to embrace the house music, how did you develop production wise, music wise, culturally, spiritually?
Yeah, I think it was natural for me because I've been producing music for so long. And, I remember the first remix I did for Shunlade, um, I tried to make a house record. Like I hadn't made a house record before. So I said, let me remix this song. He sent me the parts. I did the remix. And I said, yo, what do you think? What do you think? And he said,
Hmm.
this is trash.
Great
I
stuff.
said, come on, man, I'm trying to do a house record for you. And he said, don't do a house record. I want a Carlos Mena record. I don't want a house
Mm.
record. So that hit home with me. It was like, okay, stop trying to do something that's not,
Mm.
you know. So I said, let me back it up. And then I just took a different approach. It's like, okay, put myself into it, you know.
Mm.
My musical influences, obviously, a lot of Afro-Cuban vibes and heavy bass lines from my hip hop upbringing and hard drums and all that. So the next one that I made, the the second attempt, he loved. It's like, okay, I get it. I gotta make sure that I'm true to who I am and make music that resonates. Of course,
Mm.
if somebody says I want Afro house vibe or I want a tech vibe,
Mm.
I can work with that, but it's still gonna have whatever aesthetic I'm bringing to the table.
Mm.
But yeah, that's it. It just started kind of organically after I failed attempt of trying to make a house song.
Which one do you prefer, the tech or the Afro House? Which is your more love? I know
Well,
you shouldn't have that. You didn't say, but if you had to decide,
yeah, but when I make a tech track, it's an Afro tech track, and some people
mm.
might just call that Afro house. I mean, that's a
Mm.
whole another conversation we can get into, right? Is what's Afro house. So when I make a techier track, it's still Afro house.
Hmm.
And if it's more organic with congas and
Latin rhythm
rhythms,
on the side of it.
yeah, it's
Hmm.
still Afro house. So
Mm.
I'm actually doing a remix for Oscar P right now, and I did a really hard tech track,
Mm.
and I said, "Is this what you want?" And he's like, "Dude, nah, I want you to do whatever you want. If that's what you want to do." He's like, I was like, "Okay, well, let me give you what people expect is probably more something more Afro." So I'm doing a couple mixes, but they're all
Mm.
gonna have my vibe to them.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a preference. Whatever gets my head nodding, I
But
flow with.
you still stick with a certain Afro or Cuban Latin rhythms in there. You don't sort of evade that sound.
Yeah, I don't force it. I don't force it. I think it's my point of view. My perspective is comes from that. So when I'm
Mm.
thinking about a beat or rhythm where someone's like, has some straight up and down 4/4 snare, my mind doesn't work that way. That's not pleasing to me, maybe, right? So I may have something more syncopated.
Yeah.
It's not me trying to do something.
To something.
That's how I make music.
Totally understandable. So, when you are making music, what is the inspirations you look for? I mean, what is it that starts the first kind of 8 bar, 14 bar?
Yeah, that's a good question because I haven't really made music in the last like 10 years. I've been,
Mm.
I made a song here and there, but I haven't been creating music. To me, like I've been doing remixes,
Mm.
which to some extent, I've said this before. To me, remixes sometimes are like disposable music in some cases where you know it's hitting for 3 4 months, everybody's playing it, and then they put it away. They on to the next.
Yeah. Mm.
So I've taken the approach of delivering music that works for the dance floor when I'm dealing with remixes. Like I'm giving you tools. If there's a song and someone says remix it, or I'm doing a remix or whatever, I'm thinking of it as a tool that Mr. Silk has in his bag when he's at a party. He can pick from 3 or 4 versions of a song that he wants to play that's appropriate for that moment in
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
So my inspiration is always the dance floor. Like I think about, will this work on the dance floor? Will people dig this? What is these hard drums hitting hard? Is the
Hmm.
bass bumping? What kind of vibe? I think about the great times that I've had in clubs when
Hmm.
there's a vibe happening, and I
Try to
listen.
reimage that.
Yeah, I'm like, is there going to be a vibe with this song? Is it going to work in a situation?
Hmm. Tell us about some of the great clubs, as you said. Which clubs were you at?
Clubs, man, here in New York, Output, which is no longer around.
Yeah.
Um, that was like one of my favorite venues, just sound wise and the staff and just everything, the vibe and the gear. Just that was one of the greatest places I've played at because they just
Hmm.
treated you like
Decently.
royalty. Yeah, man. It's like, oh, you're the DJ. You're very important. It's like that's not always the case, you
It's
know.
not.
Yeah. But the for me, it's not necessarily the club. Always, it's really the vibe. Like for example, Atlanta is always a vibe. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't matter whether it's the music room or some other spot or some rented hall. Like you get the crowd in there, the right people that
Yeah.
want to experience the thing that you're bringing to the table. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah. That's a shout out. So I guess you, Mr. Tambor himself, who I had a conversation with a couple of weeks back. Um, oh no, he's gonna kill me. What's his name?
Stan.
Stan Zephyrin. Stan Zephyrin Saints brother. Stan. Oh my
Zephyr.
god, it's Stan Zeph. Stan, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, he's gonna kill me for that. Right. So, outside of US, where have you traveled to, and which have you enjoyed the most? I mean, where do you find the best vibe?
Let me think. Um, I had a great time at June
Mm.
because my favorite thing to do is play for dancers, and I played at June with Greg Gautier on
Mm.
a Sunday, and it was just dancers, and that was it. It's like they were there for a certain thing. There's a pressure too that comes with that.
Yeah.
It's like this is
You.
it. This is what it's all about. There's people here that are here specifically to dance to good music. What are you
Mhm.
gonna do? So that was amazing. Um, man, I've been all over. Had some fun times in Greece.
Hmm.
I played an amazing party again. As I don't even remember the venue, but it's the vibe. Like I played the Soulmates party.
Hmm.
Um, I want to say it was like 8 years ago, and I think I played the for me one of the best sets I've ever played. Like for me personally, because there was a very soulful crowd there,
Hmm.
and rap had been playing some amazing music, and then I got on, and I was like, "What am I gonna do?" And I played. I kept. The only the way I can explain it is I kept it on simmer. Like,
Mm.
he put all the stuff in the pot for the stew, and I just put it on simmer, and I didn't want to burn the pot.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I didn't play anything too hard. I didn't get aggressive. I didn't. There was no highs, and I kept it on simmer the whole time, and you could see people just the intensity and the vibe
Building.
was just beautiful. It was on simmer, like you could see
Yeah.
it just the vibrations elevated, and it just stayed there the whole night. And
Yeah.
it was a beautiful thing, and I missed that. That was beautiful. I
Hmm.
When I was doing my hip hop tour, I went to Japan
Hmm.
with the P Funk All Stars,
Okay. Yeah.
Funkadelic. I was part.
Funkadelic. Yeah.
Yeah, I was part of the opening act, and that was incredible. Like hanging out with them on the bus and being on stage with them and singing Flashlight on stage with those dudes. That was an incredible. But that was my first time in Japan, and so that was amazing. That's an incredible place. What else? Yeah, those are the highlights. I would
The
say just
highlights.
the vibrations of what I think of. Like when I went to South Africa,
Mm.
unlike anything else, right? It's just their intense love for house music is amazing.
Yeah.
When I first got there, I'll tell you this story real quick. They picked me up at the airport. We dropped off my bags, and then we went to this mall to go have. It was like 11 in the morning. I had gotten there, so we went to go have like a lunch,
Mm.
and got up from the table to go to the bathroom. And I'm walking into the bathroom, and this guy's coming out of the bathroom. He's like, "Are you Casamena?" I was like, "What?" It's like some random thing. I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not a celebrity. I'm not famous or anything. Like, yo, you're Casa Mena. Can I get your picture? Blah blah blah. And he took a picture with the dude. I was like, man, this is crazy. And then a lot of things like that happened during the trip
Hmm.
down there. I think I was Lars was down there too for something else, and we hooked up where he was playing.
Hmm.
He was playing at House 22, and I got on there as well. And just that vibe is crazy too, because that reminds me of what the vibe was like for hip hop in the beginning here in New York, where there was
Mm.
this intense passion, and the people creating the music were figuring out ways to create music, with
Music. Yeah.
very little equipment, making incredible music. So yeah, that was a special.
Special moments of time.
Yeah.
Do you think that continue with your point there regarding the music and having little equipment but creating great music as well? The South Africans, or the house music market, you might say, in its infancy, the Afro house side of things is has somewhat to develop, but still doing a lot with what they have.
You mean
Being
that
that, go on, yeah,
globally or just in South Africa?
I'd say in South Africa for now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the success of Black Coffee has been a great help lifting up the whole scene, but it's also, I think, been a detriment to the growth because everybody's like trying to copy and make the same kind of song, and
Mm.
and, and it's gone in one direction, kind of too far. It's not even like you listen to it as a tech song. It's not even. I don't think I hear anything Afro about it.
Hmm.
you know. Um, but then at the same time, there are some cats that are doing amazing things, creating like amazing deep house records. Like on our label, like the last 10 releases have been mostly deep house from
Mm.
from South African cats. Like you listen to, it, you're like, yo, this is some German dude made this, or but it's from South Africa.
Yeah. The love for
Saf,
deep house there is something else.
yeah. What's his name? I went blank. Oh man, from Soul Candy, who started was it Stay True?
Hmm.
He's putting out amazing deep house music. So I just went
Wow.
blank on his name too.
See, it happens. It happens. It happens. Don't worry, it will come back. We'll keep it moving in. When it comes back, just shout his name out.
Word.
All right. So in its infancy, so Afro House is being, let's say, how can I say this? It's being compared to the early growth of hip hop, so the early times of hip hop.
Yep.
How do you see, or what would you advise those people coming through? Because as you said, black coffee, just doing that one sound that black coffee kind of plays, is kind of detrimental to the scene because we're not growing, we're not inventing, we're not being innovative regarding the music. How do we change that?
I think I mean, it'll change. Kid Funk. That's who I was thinking of.
Oh, Kid Funk, yeah.
Yeah, his label. Sorry, I had to look it up because Stay True Sounds. Shout
Mm,
out to Kid Funk. I've known him for a long time.
yeah.
Um, I think things will take care of themselves. Like people will gravitate towards good music, and
Mm,
you're gonna have the people that want to hear a certain thing in a club, and when they go to Ibiza, they want to hear a certain thing. That's always gonna be there. Um, I think it's on us, the rest of us, to stay true to who we are and what we like as music, and not be driven by opportunity to make money. It's like, oh well, if I make this kind of song, I'm gonna make money. I've never been about that.
mm,
Ever from the beginning of my career, when I started doing hip hop, I flew to New York and met with different labels, Columbia, Tommy Boy, like all the big hip hop labels at the time,
mm-hmm,
and made a conscious decision to stay independent because
mm,
you want to do what is going to nurture your soul. I do anyway, and
yeah.
what you think is going to reach like-minded people.
Yeah. I think
So
there's definitely a decision that a lot of people have to make in the hunt of life, as you might say. It's the hunt for money or the hunt for spiritual or oneself. And I think that's what kind of ties in a lot of people, that
right,
decision you've got to make.
and you could boil it down to happiness. What's going to make you happy? If somebody wanting to have a nice Ferrari is going to make them happy, then that's the path they're going to take. But
Mm.
that's not for me.
Doesn't always make you happy either. uh, so tell us a little bit about some of the people that you've worked with then, because you've worked with an array of people. But let's talk about the house and the Afro House guys.
Well, I mean, I've learned so much from Oshunlade, obviously, doing stuff for his label and him doing stuff for my label and collaborations. So I put him at the top just because his sound is amazing and his ability to create.
Mm.
He's prolific. Like he puts out music. I don't talk to him for 3 or 4 days, and then I get on the phone with him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I just finished an album." I'm like, "What?" Or a few months ago, like, "Yeah, I just finished 3 albums." I'm like, "What is going on? And what are you doing?" you know. And then Louis Vega, man, he's such on all levels, like just production wise and running his business, and then as a DJ. I don't know
Mm.
if you've ever seen him DJ live, man.
Yep.
The
He
guy's
is something.
he's a machine. Like he's just on it, and he plays great records. So I put them at the top, and then people that I've worked with besides them, so many. I mean, and in the house world, I've done stuff with different people, especially running a label. I'm getting music all the time from different artists, and I've been helping fine tune songs for different people. We put something out by Black Coffee early on. We put out Black Motion early on. So
Mm.
we've been MZ, who now has I think a new EP out or new album out. Gave us some amazing tunes. Um, yeah, I mean, with Jimpster recently did a song with him where I was doing vocals. Laroye Tom, who's
Oh
doing
yeah.
deep house, we did a song for Free Range, and so yeah, I mean, I've collaborated with different folks in different ways. It's just always just trying to maintain, the aesthetic of the label and put out good quality. I've been working a lot, obviously, with CoFlow the last couple of years. He's been taking over as label manager and A&R. He's been doing a great job, and yeah, man, we're at the point where I just trust him with mixing the records and mastering the records. I don't have to do any of that stuff anymore. So yeah.
Okay. So, as a young producer or someone trying to actually access yourselves to actually deliver a track, what kind of things are you looking for in a track that when they're sending it to you on an email or SoundCloud link or whatever?
Well, first thing is there should be some information. Like you can't just send uh, a we transfer or whatever with no name, no nothing. Like who sent me this? How do I get back in touch with you? Who are you? Like
Yeah.
that's number one. Like write an email. Hey, I'm interested in having you sign this and blah blah blah. Or don't BCC us and send it to 30 labels.
That's better.
We won't even listen to it. It's like, well, if it's not, you didn't do this for us, and you're sending it to so many people. Good luck. Somebody else will sign it. So that's first. Is like just those basic things if you want to get the music heard, and then sonically it needs to be proper. Like it needs to be mixed well. The sounds need to be hidden. It needs to be clean, and that's just the basics. Then we get to the song. Okay, well, does it move me? Is there a vibe happening? What's is it something that's somewhat unique? Um, then that'll get our attention. Once you get past the basic stuff, it's like, okay, it doesn't matter what the genre is. Is it moving us? Then yeah, we'll take a solid listen to it, and then Koflo and I will talk, and we'll make it happen.
Interesting. So that's the way to get through if you're looking to get on the label, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think
Yeah,
there's like a big movement of ladies coming through?
I'm looking for them. I haven't seen them. I mean, there's a lot of lady DJs. I'm hoping that the next step is there's more ladies producing music. I
Which is
mean,
what we want.
Anana is doing her thing, and we got some ladies in the UK doing their thing, Paris, and who
Some in
else?
South Africa as well. Jackie Queens,
Yeah, Jackie. Yeah, there's a few.
Tandy, Tandy Trade. There's to keep doing their things over there as well. But we definitely need a larger wave of women coming through
Absolutely.
the musically doing producing. So we're looking forward to that in the future, as you might say. So you've been affecting the scene, the house scene, and in its wider regions. As in, because you delivered something last year, which you created. I don't know when you created it. Was maybe we'll find out now. But it was an award ceremony which actually celebrated those individuals who had been struggling out here or delivering for a long while, but never really got recognition. It was only like maybe a print line here in a magazine or on a website or something like that, but never no awards and stuff. And you created something. Tell us a little bit about the Bembe Award.
Yeah, yeah. So back at towards the end of the year, Mixmag put out their top 100 DJ list, and I looked at it, and it looked really white and really foreign to me. And I was like,
Was
okay,
that
well,
DJ Mag or Mix Mag?
Mixmag or DJ
Okay.
Mag. Did I say
DJ Mag.
Mixmag? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
DJ
yeah.
Mag. Now shout
DJ
out,
Mag.
Yeah, Mixmag has been really cool to me, but Mixmag, not Mixmag, DJ Mag
DJ Mag.
did the top 100. I don't know who it was. A lot of people do top 100s, and I never like recognize half the DJs, and I don't listen to most of their music. So I said, why don't we have a top 100? Like where Bodhisattva is on there, and Rich Medina, and DJ Spinna, and Oshunade, and Louis Vega, and Ian Friday, and on and on and on. And so that's how it started. We put out a form and asked people to vote. Um, and then from there, I started having conversations with people, and we said, why don't we turn this into an award show and give out like DJ of the Year and um, Streamer of the Year and Song of the Year and Remix of the Year. We wanted to keep it to just a few categories because we didn't have a lot of resources, and we just started doing it. So in like less than 3 months, we put the whole thing together, and we had a show in January. It's up on twitch.tv/Casamena. It's there, and you can go watch it. And it was an amazing production. CoFlow produced the whole thing, and we had live performances and live acceptance speeches, and it was really fun. And one of the great things that happened was this award was created.
Yeah.
Now you can see it, and in the show, there's a video. It shows the whole process of how this award was created, the Bembe DJ Award.
Yeah.
It's like a real award, that we gave out to a lot of people in January. So we're gonna do it again next year. We're just getting started. We had our first planning meeting last week.
Awesome.
We had some amazing sponsors jumped in. We couldn't have created that award without the sponsors. They gave us a bunch of money, which was great, and we were able to give the DJs money and the awards. We had sponsors that gave out awards as well. So yeah, it was something amazing to honor us, right? Because
Hmm.
we're here doing all this stuff, and we're seeing it's the same all around the world. We're people that have been oppressed, and it cuts across all industries. We're being held back because we're not in
Hmm.
positions of power. So we create our own power, and so that's why we created the show. It's like we don't have to wait for somebody else to recognize us.
Indeed. What other things do we have to do to cut through? I mean, before I say that, congratulations on the award, by the way. Amazing, well delivered. I loved it. Salute to everybody
Thank you.
involved in that. Congratulations to you. What do you think we need to do as a community to move forward so we become the positions of power, or become the people in positions of power?
Educate ourselves. Continue to educate ourselves in the industry and how festivals work and how labels work, so that we can create our own um, things to showcase our skills, whether it's a label or a club or a festival. And
Mm,
we have to make a decision, a conscious decision about what it is we're willing to sacrifice.
yeah.
If you can't look the other way when if you're Black Coffee, and I'm not calling out Black Coffee, I don't know what his situation is, but let's say he's on an event with 30 DJs and he's the only Black DJ. He needs
Mm,
to say I would
you need to call
expect
it
him to
out.
say something, right? The same thing with women. It's like if there's an event and it's all men and there's no women, like it's on us to force their hand.
Mm, call it
We we
out.
have
Yeah.
we have to be responsible for the change we want to see.
Yeah. Are there any? Because I'm trying to think of black owned or black festivals, uh, globally or in the states, that are electronical in its processing music wise. Which ones are there?
I don't know. I'm not involved in the festival scene. I know that there's smaller things like House in the Park in Atlanta, events
Hmm.
like that, and there's events here in New York that are smaller, but the
Yeah.
larger like multi-thousand people festivals,
Yeah.
I would suspect that most of those are run by white people.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I don't think I can think of someone who's out there doing festivals with a kind of a black audience in the instance of delivering that kind of sort. Even in the black electronic music scene, I'm trying to think. Was like,
I mean, there's Afro punk, and that's global. That's huge because it happens in different cities around the world.
yeah, but
But
I think that's because I know that it's when it's kind of sold to the each territory, from
right,
my understanding,
okay,
and then the territory then puts on what it feels it will work.
there you
I
go.
believe. So that's something really strange. Sorry, that's just kicked in my head. You're also when you said about the top 100 as being very white in DJ Mag, and shouts out DJ Mag. I know the guys, and it's clear in the
I'm not
magazine that
hating on them. I'm not hating on
no,
them.
it's just it's on the list. On the list you always have Carl Cox. You might get Black Coffee in the under in the last 20, so about 80 down. You'll have Carl Cox, Green Velvet, um, and I think that's it. I think it's those three I expect to see every year in the top 100 that are people of color.
Right,
Oh no, what's the name? There's another. Oh, I've forgotten her name. Honey Jejun,
right.
I think was in it last
Yep,
year. I think.
yep,
I think.
yep. She was.
But that's it. That's it.
Yeah, that
So
goes
like
and that's because the people who run it are white, and they're associated with the people around them, and the people around them are those DJs. The same thing
yeah.
goes for Beatport. right?
Hmm.
Why is Beatport represent Afrohouse the way it does? Because the guy who picks the music or is in charge of that is white,
Hmm.
and he's surrounded by the people he knows, you know, and that's what it
Yeah,
is. It is what
it
it
is what it
is.
is, and we've called him on that. You know, shouts out Steve because he's actually reacted, and I've been working with him to try and change that as well. And like, you know, because I called him out, we put him on a clubhouse chat with a lot of other Afrocentric orators or people who put music, and they tore him a new one, and that he's been very good at trying to get there. He's asked for a number of things for us to help back. Where he's okay, so putting forward some tracks, um, charts and stuff, just trying to change the attitude there. But once again, it's about sales, as they show in there. You know, he
That's
broke down
right.
some of the figures, and he goes, you know, it's a business, and we've got to look at it. He's a business. It's a shell store, so it's not the delivery system. He's just the shop front, which is what Beatport is, rather than the actual distribution channels. And it's for us to
Right.
maybe create, because one of the conversations that we have on Clubhouse, and I know you pop in now and again, but on there it came out was that we needed to have our own delivery system with our own shop, a bit like Aphrodisia MP3. When we lost Aphrodisia MP3, we kind of lost some of our music on our way, because that was where we were finding different sounds and you could create and evolve the music, because the scene was just putting everything there and you were just going through it and just going, I like that. And then it developed into other things. I think that's
Yeah.
missing.
I was on there when Greg Maloka broke the news that he was working on something with Mosquito.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So they're working on delivering something like that. So let's hope it flourishes and becomes something that we can
Yeah.
all then come back to, and because we need that.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
let's be quite frank. Spotify isn't going to do anybody any favors. Neither are Apple or any of the other major label sort of distribution channels. They're not doing it. We need our own. I think something like what you're doing, where you've actually claimed an award ceremony, which is definitely giving out awards to the community, that needs to be supported by the whole of the community
Right.
and pushed. You know, instead of, because what would happen is you would start yours, and then somebody else would start this, and then somebody else would start this, and it's diluting it. And if you haven't got yours to a strength position to have that, so I think people need to be aware that you need to let yours grow, and then yeah, maybe years to come, another one additionally to add to help stabilize the market. But right now, we need one that we will go, yeah, that's the one that everyone push hard. But I guess that's the attitude of a business mind, that people will just see what you're doing and think, oh, we'll do it as well.
Right.
And it's got to change that.
Agreed.
Sorry for starting to preach and all that stuff. I
Yeah, yeah,
apologize.
nah, it's all good. You're passionate.
No. So right. So let's talk about the Beatport sort of thing and attitude, man. What do we do beyond that? I mean, how do we change on what when we're pushing the music? What do we do? How do we get to a stage where we're now in command of that kind of thing, or they have to come to us, as you might say?
I don't know that that's ever gonna happen. We just got to keep putting out the music we want to put out. If we want to be in command of anything, then you got to make pop music.
But that's
And
not the case, because let's. Sorry to come back at you like that, but because in hip hop they had the same quote. They had the same question being asked of them at the very beginning, you
hmm
know, and they found a way.
yeah, they sold out the culture and started making certain kind of music that appealed to white people and sold records.
Mm,
It's the same situation. You know, if you talk to someone that's in the culture of hip hop now, we go back and we reminisce about some of these songs because they've been around forever and they're popular, and we
mm,
claim them as part of the culture. But when a lot of this music came out back in the '90s and late '80s, going into the early '90s, and then mid '90s when it all just blew up,
mm-hmm.
the hip hop purists, the people who loved the culture, were upset
Ups.
because the culture was being sold out. It you know was the culture was sold out to rap music, and and it was white people that were perpetuating the stereotypes and the music that was being made. And
Mm,
so for house music, it is a little bit more fractured because there's so many different subgenres. So it's not like you've got 20 million people listening to Afrohouse. It's fractured. You got the folks that want to listen to soulful house, and the DJs that only play soulful house, and you got the DJs that will play, tech house, and then you've got the DJs that play the variety of Afro house sounds. So it's harder to like create a coalition or coalesce the sound and have it say this is it and promote that thing and have it
Mm.
blow up, because that thing is kind of fractured. I mean, the things that have been blowing up more is, Afro beats, which is not Afro beat, and then the Afro beat, that stuff that's represented, that's coming out of Africa, Nigeria particularly.
Hmm.
The things that Bodhi is doing is Afro house, but it's a little bit more different, right? It's like almost Afro pop, you
Hmm.
know, and there's opportunities there because you see it bleeding over into other genres and crossing
Yeah.
over, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. But that doesn't represent, what I'm playing. Is it going to bring some audience? Maybe a little bit. Is it going to give us power? I don't know. I think the power comes when we create our own platforms. Just like our own delivery system, our own channels, our own everything. Where people want the culture, they have to come to those channels, and it's not diluted.
Mm. Mm. So even with that, and actually not the non-dilution of it, we then need to control a business kind of acumen. I think sometimes we kind of like we're not educated enough regarding the business. I think sometimes we fail to. We know all the rest of it. We know how to put the right music, the right note in the right section, but we just fail how to put the right contract in front of something or make sure that our publishing's in the right place, which you would think would be come hand in hand. But it's something in music, and it's not only in Afro house or in just house that we need to sort of educate ourselves on. How do we now tell those coming up who are making the same mistakes those have done in the past and our forefathers? How do we change that? What kind of things, the mechanisms do we have to put in place to stop all this?
Well, it's also on the folks that have done it in the past to for them to step up and say, okay, I'm gonna educate and teach. It's all the channels are here now, right? It's like all these social media channels. You could have, somebody that's been around for 20 years and say, hey, this is how you do X, Y, and Z. This is how I did it. This is how you can do this. There's no reason why we can't educate each other and work
Mm.
together to learn about stuff. I'm in the middle of learning right now. We are in the middle of I haven't announced this, but we have launched a publishing company that's focused on music sync.
Hmm.
So we're placing music in film, television, and commercials,
Also.
and I'm still learning. Like it's new business to me, and the opportunities have been coming, and I'm just learning like the ins and outs, working with different people, attorneys, and learning even from the music supervisors that I'm pitching to. They're helping me learn about the business. So you just try to absorb as much as you can,
Hmm.
because in any business, it's about relationships, and the people in power that have the relationships are not people of color. So we have to like claw our way, however we can, to make our own space, and then reach down and grab the next person and bring them up and create a bigger space. And it takes time and energy. Some people just don't want to do that. Some people just want to live their lives, make their money, and move on.
Hmm.
And it is what it is.
It is what it is, as they say. Do you think that because house has got different breakage or boxes, for want of a better phrase, or different selection? You've got tech house, house, Afro house, electro house, blah blah blah, sofa house. It keeps going. Do you think that's one of the reasons why the scene hasn't exploded as a populist sound? It's still a massive sound, but a globally populist sound.
Yeah, it's different sounds though, right? Like the Afro house that is played in the UK
Hmm.
is different from what we think of as Afro house here in the States. It's like
Hmm.
it's just completely different. Completely different from what Bodhi's creating, and I love Bodhi's sound. I love what he plays, and there's DJs that will play all of it, and I'm one of
Hmm.
them. I'll play
Me as
anything.
well.
I'm not a genre guy. I'll play everything,
Hmm.
and so here in the States, you got guys like Oshunlade and Antonio Casio and Joe Clausel. That's Afro house, but it
Hmm.
sounds nothing like the European Afro tech stuff that's being played that's coming from South Africa. Um, and so the guys that are playing those songs in New York are not playing those other songs. It's just it's up to us, the ones that are playing the different genres, to keep promoting the different genres and
Keep
make
growing.
keep it growing. But I don't think that there's ever going to be like an explosion of Afro house in general. There might be an explosion of a particular kind of Afro house, right? Like what Black Coffee was doing blew up a little bit and it's
Mm.
crossing over. The stuff that Bodhi's doing is crossing over. Will the stuff that Antonio Casio and Oshunlade make and Louis Vega make crossover? Yeah, it could. I mean, he had some Louis had some big hits a few years back when he did the New York Soul album. That was all Afro house.
Mm.
Some say jazz, and yeah, there was jazz in it, but it definitely was rooted in Afro Cuban music.
Yeah. What's the sound? Because you're saying that, and maybe, and I say that Afro House, Amapiano, they're related. They have a relationship, and I say it's a big brother, little brother, or little sister kind of relationship. Being that Afro House, the big brother, it's been around for 30 years plus. Afro House has in its different formats, and then Amapiano, which has been around about 6 to 7 years, has grown out of the sounds that have come in from South Africa, but has delivered such a massive impact um, in the younger group of individuals globally. I think there you have a look at maybe that is the bridge to Afro House as we know it, or relate to it.
I'm not that smart. I don't know.
Sir, you are a very intelligent gentleman.
I can't see into the future, man. I like some of the stuff that kids are listening to. I'm like, what? You know, but I get
Mm,
it. Some of it, I'm like, what? And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh yeah, this is really good. Just you get
yeah,
older, you get used to certain sounds, and it's
yeah. So you're not feeling the ABBA piano pace yet? It hasn't really hit. It might not hit you guys yet, but it's coming.
no. I
The
mean,
wave.
I'm online, so I see it and feel it. But when you go to a club here or a bar or a lounge, that's not what they're playing.
Mm,
Somebody might drop a track in their set,
hmm.
but
Hmm.
that's not what they're playing. People are playing New York house.
New York House, yeah. Well, it comes back to the original section. No, where did it all begin? What was it? And I guess that's another thing. It's a foreign sound from the original. Is it a purist thing, or is it an acceptance of this is a new sound? Here we go, kind of thing. For those of us who just go, yeah, let's bring it in. It's all under one umbrella anyway. Which is what, once again, it should just be called house. We should just stop all the different thoughts. Just call it house. Like R&B has different sounds,
Yeah.
slow jams, this jam, neo soul, but it's still R&B. Hip hop, it's got West Coast rap, Southern rap, but it's still hip hop.
We need DJs that take chances and play, different music.
And I was about to say that it's coming back to the person that actually plays the music. The DJs have to become DJs again instead of playlist people on Spotify
Yeah,
for listens.
yeah. They're the ones that have a lot of the power right now. Is all all the playlists have
Mm,
the power. That's what people are listening to in their car and on their phones. They pop in a playlist.
yeah. So
So
I guess.
it's a challenge, but they're not DJs, and we are artists, and we have an art form that is unique, that requires special skill, that works in a live environment. That's what we do. We play music for people,
Mm,
and and create a vibe. So you can't do that
awesome.
with a playlist.
Not at all. And on that point, I'm going to bring this interview to a close. It's a shorter one than I would expect, but I know we have
Part two,
constraints.
part two, part two.
Part two will come. We're going to get deep into this. Thank you so much for joining us. If anyone wants to stretch out and reach you, Carlos, how do they get at you?
Yeah, I'm on all the social media platforms at Casa Mena. You can find me at Casa Mena.
And
And if you want to reach the label, it's Ocha Records. You reach out to CoFlow at ocharecords.com if you have demos. And shout out to the whole Ocha team, and shout out to my whole family, man. Everybody. I mentioned Shulade. I mentioned everybody. Shout out to Bodhisattva.
and anybody you've missed.
Yeah, everybody.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. We will do a part 2, and I've got loads of conversations still to come, I'm sure, with you. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for joining me today on Drums Radio Live. Shouts out to Drums Radio family. We'll be back soon again. Make sure you stay, subscribe, share, and keep following the vibe. We're going to grow this Afrohouse thing, man. Believe me. Thank you so much, Carlos Mena.
Peace.
Peace, brother.